Tigers of Southern Miss. You look at Southern Miss running out into the court. They just have 2 games remaining in this season, and they're not going to be involved in postseason self-imposed penalties. Meanwhile, Western Kentucky, they feel like they can really make a serious run, despite when you look at the standings in CUSA, they are not on the first page. UAB, another win for them tonight. They have dominated this conference, but you look at page 2, and there is Western Kentucky. But one thing you have to keep in mind about the Hilltoppers, they have lost a lot of close games this year. That 6-10 record could easily be flipped around. With Blaine Taylor, I'm Dave Armstrong. Good to have you courtside with us here in Bowling Green. Coach, when we look at this game, we're looking at a Western Kentucky team that would really like to get some momentum going into next week.
Well, Dave, when you look at a golf tournament, they talk about moving day. These guys are trying to move in the standings. I really respect these veteran coaches for getting these guys to hang in there. They're coming off maybe their best weekends of the season. Southern Miss goes and loses in overtime, double overtime, but they win by 10 in the other game. Western Kentucky goes on the road, beats Middle Tennessee, loses narrowly to UAB. But as they say, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. Today, somebody's going to feel good about winning a basketball game and in the process improving their seeding for that tournament next week.
Well, Doc Sadler has done a terrific job. I mean, for a guy who has a team that has no hope for this year, really. They're playing for nothing except their own pride, and he has guided this team to an overall record of 5-11 in Conference USA. Truly amazing record. And then you look at Ray Harper, and this is a guy who has won in the past. I know the last couple of years they've fallen on some tough times this year. Unless they win the CUSA tournament, they're not going to go to the NCAAs. But boy, has he had a lot of success in his career.
He sure has. These guys are both very well respected. They've been at multiple places. And I think a lot of times guys do their best jobs in the years when things don't go their way.
Well, you look at the series history, it's been dominated. Short history between these two teams, and Western Kentucky has won 5 of the 6 meetings and all of the meetings here in Bowling Green. So we're about set to start. Western Kentucky wearing their home white uniforms, and it's Southern Miss in their road black.
No problem telling the jerseys apart. What a contrast.
Justin Johnson gives it up. Both teams have really had to juggle their starting lineups as the year has gone on. Cosby works into the paint, no. But there's a guy doing what he does best. Justin Johnson, one of the most prolific rebounders and scorers in this conference.
Top 10 basically in both categories, and has just gotten better and better, and he's just a sophomore.
I really like his game a lot. He's been in double figures in all but 5 games this year.
He's got social skills, too. He came over and gave us both a dap for the game.
That's right. What does that mean?
A dap.
Oh, dap. No, I'm just kidding you. I'm hip.
We'll cool you up.
All right. Please help me out there. My kids would be forever grateful.
What's the copay on that?
McNeil with 4 to shoot it. Hasn't swatted away. Ramey got a hand in there.
Style-wise, Western Kentucky scores a lot more points per game. I'm not sure if Southern Miss can score enough to beat them, but that's why you play the game.
We welcome those of you who have been watching a real thriller between La Tech and Marshall, won by La Tech on a buzzer beater.
Oh boy, I mean, there's so much stuff that can move in these standings, and those top 4 spots are just golden.
So you look at moving day, that moves La Tech to 12-5 in conference play. They join Middle Tennessee there, and Marshall drops to 11-6.
As you look at those 4 buys, double buys basically, and I think the winner of the tournament will probably come amongst those 4 teams, if you're guessing. There's going to be some tiebreakers probably come into play.
Stolen away, Price goes coast to coast, no. And poked away, here come the Toppers. Now McNeil gives it up in the corner. And a good look for Edmond.
This is one of Ray's higher scoring teams, highest scoring team here at Western Kentucky since 2007 and 8. Scoring about 75, 76 a game.
So it's a contrast in styles because the Golden Eagles, they've had trouble scoring this year, Coach.
Well, they're down at the bottom of the offensive stuff, but they've been awfully salty defensively, and that's why they've been in so many games.
And a high-low action from Blevins to Watts. That didn't work. Another turnover for the Golden Eagles.
One of the things you notice with Southern Miss is they're trying to do the right stuff on defense. They're trying to share the ball. They're trying to space the court. They're trying to compete to the best of their ability.
Cosby. It's looking easy right now for Western Kentucky, and they're off to an 8-0 lead.
Well, we said they've been playing good. They just haven't been winning a lot of games. So, maybe they could play good throughout the course of the night. Boy, Ray, he had a lot of stories to tell about these close games when we were talking to him today.
Jackson with a step-back three. Cortland Jackson's been on a tear of late. 27 in his last game against North Texas, and in the game before that, 31 against Rice.
Yeah, Doc was quick to point out he scored 58 points the last 2 games, and of course, the next thing you say is, why haven't you done it all year?
Thrown back out to you, Coach.
I was wide open,
You were open, but fortunately, somebody stopped it before you got hurt.
There's still some injury timeouts left. It's early.
Well, you look at Doc Sadler in his second year, and of course, with the sanctions imposed, self-imposed by the school, they can't go to postseason play, and all of that due to the previous regime. None of that had to do with Doc Sadler. In fact, he didn't even know about it when he took the job.
Yeah, it all came out of nowhere, but it put them all in limbo, and they've been in limbo for a long time. So you always wonder why things can't happen a little bit faster.
Wide open three. Good switch on the top, and all of a sudden, Southern Miss is right back in it. 6 straight points.
We were discussing before that they average almost 9 3-pointers a game. Some of it's out of necessity, some of it's out of plan.
Fight for the ball, and last touch by Southern Miss. We'll get a timeout on the court. 15:45 left to go in the first half. Blevins and company making a nice comeback. 6 straight points by the Golden Eagles, and we've got a 2-point game. Welcome back to Diddle Arena in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Nice mural as you come into Diddle Arena, explaining some of the history, great history, athletic history. And look at that football team. And how about Brandon Dowdy last year, the great quarterback. Jeff Brom just was handed a new extension as their football coach, one of the great young coaches in college football today. And expect the Hilltoppers to be great in college football again in the years to come.
They've done a lot of really neat things with their facilities around here. I was going around campus yesterday and today, and boy, it's a polished product around here nowadays.
Now, you're involved in the history here, aren't you?
That's true. My 90-year-old mom told me that I had ties to this school, and it turns out that the Cherry family, I'm a direct relative of the Cherry family. My William Taylor's sister married Cherry, and they started this school, so I should get a cut of tuition probably.
Yeah, I think you should. You want to come back to school here?
Well, I know I can get that GED sooner or later.
8-6 our score here with Western Kentucky on top by 2. They scored the first 8 points of the game.
If you look at it statistically, the rebound margin 5-0, but the turnovers have offset that 3-0. So, you know, there's kind of a reason that the score is pretty close. Everybody's kind of according to character right now.
Another 3-point attempt for Kari Price. By the way, you look at Southern Miss so far in this game, 5 of their 7 shots they've attempted are from beyond the arc. Ooh, a little dipsy-do by Edmond.
Julius Irving there. Yeah, and if you didn't know any better, you'd think Western Kentucky is just daring them to shoot because most of them are pretty open. They're playing percentage man-to-man. They're really not extended up into the passing lanes. Most of the time, 10 set of tennis shoes inside the three-point line.
So you say percentage man-to-man? What do you mean by that? Jackson.
Just not extending up into passing lanes. You don't see a lot of exposure to backdoor cuts, interior driving, post play.
So they're letting the outside stuff stay because they figure that's the percentage. Go ahead and let them try that.
They've got it packed back in, and so the percentages are with the closer shots, not fouling, and giving them the three-pointers, but they're making them right now. So.
Yeah, they're 3 for 6 from three-point range. There's Blevins open. He didn't shoot it.
Just count their tennis shoes. How many of them are inside the three-point line? 10 of them right now. All the passes are easily caught.
Like wide open, Blevins. I mean, they left him.
It's almost like they're daring them, but you know they're making some of them now. But they've already got 10 three-point attempts. They might have about 60 at this pace.
McNeil, an air ball. He's only a 29% three-point shooter, and the guy that just shot it for Southern Miss, Blevins, just a 22%. So that's why when Ray Harper, you're talking about percentages, he's like, all right, I'm watching them. On the whole, they don't make a lot of three-pointers. And now he's always bringing some more size. Rostov comes in, and I think he wants to take advantage of his size because he not only brought in Rostov, but his 7-footer, Ben Lawson.
He just brought the ceiling painting crew in.
The Michelangelo crew has arrived, huh?
They got big real fast.
Boy, they did. Real fast.
They got tall real fast.
Let's see how they take advantage of that. Well, they shoot a 3. That's not exactly the way you draw it up, is it?
But now, the big boys better board it if they want to get a shot.
I'm sure Ray Harper's sitting over there going, I can't believe it. I just put 2 7-footers in there, or a 6'10" and a 7-footer, and we didn't let them touch the ball on offense.
Well, they're from England and Latvia. They're kind of still earning their spurs, I guess. But Jeff Lawson's parents are here from visiting from England. Oh, here for 2 weeks. I asked the dad before the game, I said, is he going to play good? And he goes, he always plays good. And I go, okay, that's what we'll say then. But he's had over 50 blocked shots the last 2 seasons, so he's a long drink of water now.
He just hasn't scored in the last 4 games. There's Snipes, and that shot misses badly.
It's a miss amongst friends, is my old saying.
5 for 12, and they've gone ice cold since starting off with the first 8 points of the game.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to blow the doors off this place to begin with.
1 from their last 6 for Southern Miss. So neither team shooting the ball very well of late.
They've got late clock a few times here.
Here's one here, 4 seconds on the shot clock, and that one didn't hit the rim. And it falls right into the lap of Rostov.
That's when you really put a burden on Price, point guard, to do something really good at the end of the clock. And they need it. They can't. What happens if you miss? You get the runouts and you get transition defense right there where they had a breakdown at the post.
So Lawson fought for the position inside. He gets fouled on the play. He'll go to the line when we come back. Right now, kind of a low-scoring affair. The Hilltoppers up by 3. Well, the Hilltoppers, a 3-point lead with 11:35 left to go with Blaine Taylor, the coach. I'm Dave Armstrong. Glad to have you courtside with us. We've talked a lot about the Hilltoppers and the tough luck that they have run into this year. When you look at the last 5 Conference USA losses, look at this. 2 points, 4 points, 3 points, 3 points, and then at UAB, a 4-point loss.
Well, you always think you'd win about half of them, and they've won about 20% of them, and so it's been really difficult. It's a lot of long bus rides, a lot of 4 or 5 days between games sometimes, kind of keep the guys up, and Ray has kept them up.
The description you use to describe someone who does what I do for a living is play-by-play. If you want a play-by-play description of those 5 losses, just ask Coach Harper. He knows.
You better call in sick for work that day, though.
He knows exactly what happened and why it happened and what went wrong.
He does, Dave, and he can tell you the name of the player, how much time is on the clock.
Yep.
And it's not like we lost close. They were ahead in many of those games late.
So that's why I say when you look at their 6-10 conference mark, they could easily be in the top 4, no question about it. That's what I think makes them dangerous next week in Birmingham.
They could really have a say in who wins it because they could knock somebody out that has a chance to.
Rostov swings it. Hunter, kind of an unusual little kick. Lawson didn't have his footing under him and had the rebound taken away by a 6'2 player, Edwards.
A lot of guys around it. No production, though.
Western Kentucky 0 for their last 5 from the field.
If you're Southern Miss, you're shooting 27%. You're probably feeling pretty good that with another bucket, you're right there.
Exactly. You're only down 4, shooting 27% on the road. Campbell, nope. And the rebound by Edmond.
Start of the game, these two teams were 4 for 6 from the three-point line. They're now 5 for 16. So they've gone ice cold. They've missed their last 9, I think, in a row.
Price got nicked on the rebound. I believe inadvertently Ben Lawson poked him in the eye. So Price is going to come out, I believe.
He'd been banged around a little bit like WWF. He'd hit the deck down here on the drive, and then he gets smacked in the noggin there. So he just got tweaked. Yeah, but if you get flesh, salty flesh, sweaty flesh on your eye, it really burns.
I'll take your word for it.
We don't want a demonstration?
No.
We don't have any medics on the truck?
No.
I think you'd do good with the patch on your eye the rest of the game.
Oh, long 3.
Oh, he must have heard me say they missed the last 9.
Quentin Campbell. And it's a 1-point game.
It doesn't appear that Southern Miss goes deep in the bench, but they got a lot of guys play 17 to 25 minutes, and Campbell's one of them.
From the short corner. Nice shot. That breaks a scoring drought from the field as Hunter gets one to go.
One of the things about Western Kentucky, they have 3 seniors that are all going to leave with masters, guys that were graduate seniors and redshirt seniors at the end of the year. So, they're moving on in good stead, but a lot of returning players.
Johnson was there defensively, and then Lawson cleans it up.
See how quickly they're doubling the post. The size is just getting swallowed up with dark jerseys.
Nifty move by Lawson.
His parents flew halfway around the world. He had to get a bucket.
And then a steal on the inbounds play. Heads-up play by Marlon Hunter.
Pretty big sequence in a one-basket game to all of a sudden get your big guy that hasn't scored in a number of games, get the ball in the hole, crowd kind of gets charged up, steal it to the line.
I think the Lawson dad's going to be around for a while, right?
Yeah, he's spending a couple of weeks here. Him and his mom, they're going to go out to San Diego after this. They heard tell that was a nice spot.
Hopefully they'll go to Birmingham though for the tournament next week.
Yeah, I think they're going there and then to San Diego.
There you go. Coach Harper wants him to go the way Lawson's playing.
Yeah, that's right. They might have to move here.
Well, all of a sudden bigger lead now for Western Kentucky thanks to that little flurry. 7 points the advantage.
Southern Miss is pretty methodical, has pretty good court spacing, but they're getting late clock a lot. And they're okay with being late clock, but you got to be productive late clock.
Right.
And I'm not so sure that's not part of Ray Harper's strategy. Is sometimes you go out and pressure guys, they're not going to shoot it anyway. So just lay back and wait for them to come to you, and that's kind of what they're doing.
Well, you look at the overall shooting in this game, and they haven't made a two-pointer yet. Of course, they've only taken 4 of those and 11 three-pointers.
Well, if you make a bunch of threes, you tell your coach those two-pointers are overrated, but when you're not making any points, you need some two-pointers.
Good hands by Hunter. Johnson. Nope. Foul came first. No shot.
He drew a crowd like flies on garbage.
Yeah, he does. He's shooting 61% from the field.
You know, when I was looking at those stats, Dave, I had to double take on that one.
Yeah.
Like 60?
That's not easy to do. It's second best in Conference USA.
Well, and sometimes you see it with the guy that shoots like twice a game, 4 times a game.
Right.
But your leading scorer, leading rebounder, plays 30-some a game, minutes a game. That's really impressive.
That catch was impressive at midcourt.
It looked like, yeah, it was the back of the end zone, looked like to me. NFL.
Coach Brom was like,
It's a zone, and switching, playing real tight.
3 guys around him, and he still scores.
That wasn't an easy shot by any stretch, folks. 3 guys, and I think one of them was laying some fingerprints on his arm.
8 of the 21 points now for the Hilltoppers in the paint. Southern Miss doesn't have any points in the paint. Well, that's travel.
He teased everybody and the official.
Yeah. So Jackson couldn't keep his footing, and all of a sudden the Hilltoppers are making a run.
Well, you know, Justin Johnson is just so efficient. If you can get him a touch, 2 guys, 3 guys, didn't stop him. He's going to get her in the hole.
We look at some of the hardware, and well-deserved by this Western Kentucky program through the years. Look at all the victories that they have had. Now it's over 1,700 total victories, 1,719 to be exact. And how about conference championships? 42 of those.
That is unbelievable to me. And you look at all the different leagues. But, you know, right now, and look at the names on that list.
Yeah,
but
the top 2 names, pretty impressive.
The thing that's going on right now, all around the country, people are adjusting to new leagues. And Conference USA is kind of finding itself. And also Western Kentucky, they've been in the same league with 9 of these schools, but they're still in the period of adjustment trying to figure out how to compete for a championship in this league. Even though they've won 20 in recent years, they haven't got into that upper echelon yet.
Do you go with subscribe to the theory that each conference sort of has its own identity?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think the more you are around multiple leagues like you are when you're doing television,
right,
like I am now, I really see a difference to each league because you kind of get caught up in your own cocoon.
Right. But you recruit to that league, don't you? I mean, you start, once you're in a program for a while, you go, well, hey, this team has this big guy or this guy. We need a guy to defend him, or we need a guy to go on offense against that guy.
No question. It'd be like if you were playing in the West and the East in the NBA, or if you're in the West and the East in the NFL. We got to beat those guys, and they got size. We got to beat those guys. They got speed. We got to beat those guys. They got shooters. We got to beat those guys. They play small, and you have to get all the right pieces.
I don't want to be in the West in the NBA until Curry retires.
You'd want to be on the Hawaii team if you're in the West.
Right.
Start your own division.
Yeah, nice shot there by Michael Ramey. I love skip passes like that. Just frees everything up. Look at that move by Johnson. He doesn't come up with it.
You'd be surprised, Dave, how hard it is to teach kids to throw that pass, because it all sounds good and well.
Yeah.
You put a kid across the court and have him try to fire it and hit somebody on the money. It rarely happens.
Can I say one more thing as we we were going to look at something, but we decided not to. I want to say one more thing about that graphic about the conference championships. And this is outside Conference USA, but I think it's worth mentioning. We saw that Kansas, with 58 conference championships, they just won their 12th straight Big 12 title. And I don't think nationally it's being talked about nearly enough. I just think it's one of the most remarkable runs in the last 50 years of college basketball.
Well, I think excellence is taken for granted at times. I think the excellence here is taken for granted at times here at Western Kentucky. But Bill Self, I remember I coached against him when he was at Oral Roberts, and he was just getting started. And then it just seems like yesterday he went to Kansas, and every year I take it for granted how good a job he's done, because he just seems to do it every year. And it rivals what John Wooden did.
We saw a little bit of the high-low already from Doc Sadler. Doc was on Coach Self's staff for a couple of years at Kansas, and you know, when you talk about Bill Self at Oral Roberts, he invented that high-low out of desperation because he didn't really know what offense his team could play.
No, he was salty on defense like they still are, and then he's kind of choreographed some offense, but he's really adapted to having good bigs. That high-low action is something that's been a staple year after year. And you see Doc running it too.
There's a little freedom of movement call, and Johnson whistled for the foul.
Johnson did the right thing. I mean, he tried to slide in place and go to the deck as square as he could be. But, you know, it's really difficult to play good defense and not have collisions these days. And sometimes the whistle goes against you.
Inbounds play, well scouted. Tim Rose got it.
He's trying to get closer.
He did, but not close enough.
Got his body close. He just didn't get the ball close.
Little baseline move, swing the ball around. Mid-range jumper in and out, no good, and Johnson tries for the follow. Rowe just took it out of midair and then poked in the mouth.
Good spacing and pretty calculating. Ended up with a decent shot. I'm surprised Johnson missed the follow. That's kind of his deal, is to put the ball in the hole. What a collision with no whistle.
Ramey almost drug that pivot foot.
It may be a shortened clock, Dave, 30 seconds, but they're using most of it.
Raheem Watts able to get the Golden Eagles back within 10.
I think what you're finding is Southern Miss is playing their style. It's just a matter of whether they score or not. I said at the top of the show, I think 72 is the number. I think if Western Kentucky gets 72, they're going to be hard to beat. But I just don't know that Southern Miss can keep pace in a high-scoring game. So you're seeing them. But right now, I think Western Kentucky's getting a little conservative because they're ahead. Not used to it.
Tough shot. 72. I wrote it down. First one to 72 wins this game, right?
Yep, that's the number.
Okay.
I might be right on, too. You're buying dinner if I'm right on.
I think it's going to be below that.
Our drive-up window still open?
I've got coupons. Here's Ramey. That's a 2.
All right. It's a long 2.
And a timeout taken with 3:31 remaining. We're going to take a timeout with them. So Ramey's come off that bench for a couple of buckets. And we've got an 8-point game. Now the Hilltoppers lead at 27-19. You know, we could say this every game. We can't do our job without the great job that the sports information directors do, and they've got a great one here in Michael Schroeder of Western Kentucky. And the reason we're showing him is he is actually leaving at the end of this season. He has a new job with the Memphis Redbirds in the Cardinals system. He'll be in their AAA ball club in Memphis. So congratulations, first of all, to Michael. And again, our thanks to him and the entire staff here at Western Kentucky for the great job that they do in helping us do our job.
They sure do. It really has opened my eyes, all they do. And he told me that Tony La Russa and you were the ones that got him that job. Is that right?
Well, you just could stop with Tony La Russa.
Well, I didn't move past him right to you. I wanted to kind of warm you up to the idea.
Okay. Edmond will be going to the line.
You look at the Hilltoppers, Edmond going to the line. The 7 assists on 10 makes.
That's
so
good.
They've been fairly efficient. They're only shooting 43%. But the interesting thing is on the other end, they're holding Southern Miss, or Southern Miss is holding Southern Miss to 35%, and they have not shot a free throw. So the fact that they've shot 2/3 of their shots from the three-point line, they haven't got into percentage range, and they haven't got any freebies at the free throw line.
Blevins checks back in for the Golden Eagles, and the 2 free throws by Fredman Edmond. And so far, Western Kentucky is 5 for 6 at the line, and Southern Miss hasn't gone there yet.
7 different guys have scored, so they're getting a lot of different contribution.
Another 3-point attempt goes awry. 5 for 13 now.
Well, Campbell's hit one, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but they're living and dying on the line. They're going to have to make some.
Oh, good pass. That was a really good look from Edmond.
It really was, and that's the 8th assist of the game, and so you're on schedule for 15 to 20. Pretty unselfish basketball. Sometimes you get to this time of year and people still aren't, not unselfish. They start thinking about me a little bit. The season's kind of winding down.
I'm noticing some sneakers too, Coach, coming beyond the arc all of a sudden.
Well, I think they're getting a little charged up towards the end of the half. They're not used to being home and up 10, 15.
Woo. It doesn't matter how far out you go. Quentin Campbell with another 3.
Oh, he was standing right in front of Ray, too. I thought Ray was going to reach out and block it.
So already 6 3-pointers.
You're really at a pivotal time. You see him doubling the post. You're at a pivotal time with 2 minutes to go in the half. If you could get to the locker room 3, 4, 5, that's pretty good for Southern Miss. Just kind of hang around on the road.
Well, that's the thing. Except for maybe 1 or 2 games, Southern Miss really hasn't been blown out in any game.
No, Doc's got his pound of flesh out of everybody he's played. He's getting as much blood out of the tournament as he can get.
That's what he told us. He said, look, I love this team because they play so hard. I can't ask them to play any harder than they do. Anton Waters.
Scary time if you're Southern Miss.
Yeah.
You know, a little over a minute, and if you have a couple bad possessions here, it could go south on you.
There's a foul on McNeil.
I always tried to stay at single digits. I mean, even if you're having a tough half, the other team's, sharing the ball and they're making life tough on you defensively or whatever is going on against you, just so you have a chance to regroup and come charging out of the locker room. Single digits just feels so much better.
It's only the 3rd team foul on the Hilltoppers this half. And going for a steal on the inbounds play. And they do have a foul here on Waters. He kind of hooked the offensive player of Southern Miss.
Well, we'd have to have a rugby game break out for them to get to the free throw line. So that's only the 4th team foul. They haven't attacked the basket enough to really get fouled much.
And only 5 on Southern Miss.
Yeah, it's been a pretty clean game in that regard, but a lot of threes.
Well, all of a sudden the whistle's blowing a lot.
Well, they get to the free throw line for the first time in the game. I actually looked down a minute ago and I went, could they possibly go the whole half without shooting a free throw?
That's what Doc was wondering.
Sometimes you'll say that to an official, just kind of whimsically. Said, we don't practice with free throws for any reason. Don't worry about it if we're calling any fouls.
You miss talking to the officials?
They miss it more. Actually, that's been one of the fun parts of doing this is lots of hugs and laughter with officials.
I'll bet. It's all good now, right?
Yeah, you have an adversarial deal, but at the moment. But by and large, I wasn't a guy that got a lot of technicals, but I always had a rapport with the guys.
So 2 free throws there by Jackson. Back to a 9-point game, nearing the 1-minute mark of the first half. Monica McNutt, Jorge Andres are in the ASN studios. I'll have our halftime report. And there's a 3-pointer by Aaron Cosby.
That was really good action. Ball went into Nash. He held it. 3 guys converged on the double, and they came right back into a hot spot to hit it.
So 5 threes for Western Kentucky and 6 for Southern Miss.
Well, would have liked to have that one. Big possession here to maybe end it. There's a 7-second differential on the shot clock, so will they burn all the time and give them a short clock? The difference between the first half and the second half is the clock will run out. The clock doesn't start.
Good ball fake, but a block anyway.
Oh, my word.
Cosby for 3. That is a killer.
Oh, he tried to one-hand it. There's still 5 seconds, so can you get something done?
Halfway down and back out for Price. So the price is wrong for Southern Miss and the Golden Eagles. And the Toppers will go into their locker room with a 15-point advantage.
A 9-point swing. They had 2 3-pointers that rattled out, rolled out, and then they one-hand a rebound and give it back to the other team for a 3-pointer. 9-point swing.
One team running into their locker room, excited. The other one dragging into their locker room. 39-24, our halftime score as Cosby and company have a 15-point lead. Monica McNutt and Jorge Andres in the ASN studio after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first runner-up is Mr. Tyler Minico, representing Delta Zeta and Sigma Nu. And now, your 2016 Western Kentucky University coming home king is Mr. Taylor Bowen, representing Spirit Boston. Congratulations to WKU's 2016 coming home king Taylor Bowen, and to all our 2016 coming home king court.
Well, we saw a lot of threes in that first half and a 39-24 lead for the Hilltoppers. 6 threes for each team. And with Blaine Taylor, I'm Dave Armstrong. Glad to have you back courtside here at Western Kentucky. And, Coach, really the size differential was the big difference. The rebounding for Western Kentucky and also their points in the paint.
Yeah, Ray Harper admonished the guys today, and this is their last home weekend. We can't take anything for granted. Let's get the most out of it. So they really have stiffened up their game and came after it in the paint, like you say, on the glass. They've really been the dominant team physically. Southern Miss is a salty team that's been up against it all year. They've been scrappy, scrappy, scrappy. But right here, you look at the assists, 10-3. Western Kentucky has thrown the ball to the post, driven the ball to the paint, got it down the floor, and made the extra pass. You've got 10 assists on 14 made free throws, the field goals. So that real clean basketball. Really tough sequence right before the half, Dave. That sequence of the almost threes and the made threes. And, you know, to Ray, we were joking today. He asked me about being nervous when I coached. I says, I wasn't nervous behind. I wasn't nervous even. I was engaged. I got nervous when I was ahead about 10-15.
Really?
And that's what he said, too.
Because those are the ones you don't want to blow.
No, you just have this fear that, so you get a stomach ache and you start to gag and you start doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
So I was going to ask you, is he happy? He's not happy. He's nervous.
Well, he's happy for what might be a maybe. And then it's one of those deals you really got to explain. He's like, you know, it's almost to you. It's like you got the lottery numbers and you get to the last one and somebody takes it away from you.
I've never heard that phrase before. It might be a maybe. That's like a double positive, I think.
It's like the guy at the wedding that said, will you take this bride? He said, probably, maybe.
Doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement to me. Here's Johnson.
Probably didn't work out.
McNeil looking inside. And a whistle and a foul. In fact, they're going to give Edmond 2 shots on this.
Well, Southern Miss has been up against it all year. When they announced they weren't going to be in postseason play or in the tournament, a couple kids sat out. They've had a couple kids go by the wayside with injury and whatnot. So they're a little shorthanded. You can see the physically dominant team, as we alluded to, Dave, on the glass, in the paint, and the team that's at home that's kind of energized at this time of year with the chance to go to the tournament next week.
Well, a couple of guys that are sitting out redshirting, and then Eddie Davis, who was their leading rebounder. He's out with a foot injury, played 8 games, which put him right on the limit. If he'd have played 9, he wouldn't be eligible next year, but 8 games, he's able to redshirt this year and come back next season.
Oh, yeah, he's got to thank his lucky stars he didn't play one more click, or he'd have been, they're really tight on those percentages.
Poked inside. It'll be interesting to see if they try to get the ball inside a little bit more. Not many points in the paint, just 2 for the Golden Eagles in that first half. Shot clock is at 3.
Well, Doc was lamenting earlier that they just don't really have that interior game because they don't have the personnel to do it much. I think he'd like to do it in the future.
I think right now he'd be happy if each possession they ran a good series of offense. That last one was just an empty possession.
Yeah, if they could share the ball, get people movement, get people movement to where you have some offensive rebounds. They don't have any offensive rebounds to speak of. One offensive rebound, that ain't going to get you much.
And you pointed out just 3 assists. That tells me, and again, I could be wrong, but it tells me, just as an outside observer, that's not sharing the ball very well, and it's really not running offense. It's a lot of guys doing an individual thing.
Well, a lot of stop-start. The good intentions of moving, driving, passing, but a lot of stop-start that's ending up without buckets. Yeah. And if you don't make a basket, you're not going to have any assists. So, and they're living and dying on 3-pointers. 2/3 of their shots from 3, and that's just what is. I mean, Doc can't change what is. What is, he doesn't have an interior game. What is, he's a little short-handed.
Right.
And so when they are at their best, they're just carving out baskets. And, they only average in the low 60s per game. And you remember I told you the number 72? I didn't know whether they could keep pace with Western Kentucky just in terms of pure points scored, and that's been the case.
It has been the case. You're shooting just 35% in this game. For them to be a factor, they've got to have a guy have a career night. Like Cortland Jackson at 31 against Rice and 27 against North Texas. You got to have somebody on your team that's just having one of those nights where they can't miss, and they don't have one of those guys tonight.
Well, Doc allowed, he says, you know, we don't always run great offense when he scores all those points. He doesn't always shoot good shots, but we have a chance to win when he does that.
There is good position.
He was in there like Game of Thrones. He was king of the 7 kingdoms.
Yeah, that was really good possession, and there's not a lot, again, that Doc Sadler's team can do about that.
No, he's such a long target. He's not a wide target,
right,
but he's a long stretch of highway.
And that time he goes right down the baseline and gives it up. No foul called. And one. That's an offensive foul, excuse me. An offensive foul. I saw Lawson come flying in at the very end, and I thought the foul was on him. It was not. It was a charging foul on Watts.
Well, he was clearly outside the arc, and he had a pretty square position, so nice offensive take there.
Yep.
From our angle, it was hard to see that he was so set and so square.
Cosby. That was halfway down and back out again.
Those shoes of his, you could go jogging in those at night, huh?
Oh, yeah. You could light up a neighborhood.
So I'm going to wear trick-or-treating next year so I don't get ran over. Well, they got the one charge, and so if you're going to get back-to-back charge calls, you know, they call it a 50-50 call a lot, and I think it probably sways towards the block more than the charge if you want to talk about percentages. But, you know, it's tough to get them back-to-back unless you just absolutely got the goods on somebody.
That replay we all just saw, they saw it up here on the big screen, and the crowd reacted. They thought that Lawson was set in time.
He was set, but the kid got to his hip, so that's where it turned in. Just, you know, if you're wearing one of these red T-shirts up here, you don't like it, and if you're up in the gold section behind the bench there, you know, you had a different feeling.
Look at you with perspective all of a sudden. Man, you used to see this through jaundiced eyes.
Yeah, I did. Now it's partisan fandom. I'm an independent now.
That was, we don't know. So the ball goes to Western Kentucky. It went off the hands of Ramey.
Western Kentucky's trying to give them a chance to get back at this thing. They've had 3 or 4, you know, runs up and down the floor here where if Southern Miss did the right thing, they'd be sneaking up into single digits.
6 turnovers for Southern Miss, 5 for Western Kentucky.
Their court spacing is such they're trying to isolate the post. You got 4 out. Now Nash sneaks in.
So that's where I'd like to see Lawson go in there and set a presence in the paint. He got in the paint and then he backed out away from the paint.
Well, he'd like to teach a guy to post longer or repost. Not,
repost,
you know, what happens to guys that don't get post touches at the end of the night, they go, you know, coach, nobody threw me the ball in the paint. And you go, well, we were only in there for a hiccup. I mean, you got to hang in there for a little longer.
That's right.
And so, you know, I don't think his mode naturally is to stand in there, and it's sometimes hand-to-hand comment, and they're just trying to hold the spot.
By the way, that foul on Watts, his 4th, so his light is almost out.
It's not like the Krispy Kreme donut light that's on and everybody's lined up.
Yeah.
One of the things about Nash, he's a little light in the tail. You know, when I was recruiting post players, you know, somebody like him, I'd make more of a 4-man. A true 5-man has got to have a little caboose on him to hold his spot.
So big thighs.
Well, you look at Johnson. You look at his body makeup. He can hold a spot.
And I think Lawson really likes to go outside, doesn't he? I mean, he's from England. He really enjoys playing more 4. And there's a lot of guys. Like, look at Nowitzki. He's that height, and he likes to play outside.
Well, you just said it, Dave, the European flavor. Even the big, powerful players, they scoot around on the court. They're very mobile. They handle the ball and cut. I was surprised the international kids I had, how quickly they'd pass and cut. Because usually the big kids in the United States, you know, they hold it and kind of plod around a little bit.
In and out, no good. And again, Western Kentucky kind of letting Southern Miss hang around here. They haven't gone for the knockout punch yet. In fact, the second half is 5-3 in favor of the Golden Eagles.
Well, that's where we were talking about the gut-wrenching thing about being up 15. You know, if you were up 12, 13, 14, 15, and you don't extend it, eventually the other team's going to go, well, I guess they're going to let us back in this thing, and then you got a problem.
So that's why you guys got nervous with a big lead. With the shot clock expiring, that's a 2-pointer for Kelvin Blevins.
It becomes a mailbox moment when you all of a sudden are up double digits and you look up and you got to call a timeout, which you don't want to do when you're only up 5.
Quick double team on Johnson everywhere he goes. And that's a travel. Boy, don't look now, but Western Kentucky is allowing Southern Miss to climb their way and claw their way back in it. So the Golden Eagles, they were down 15 at the half. Look at it now. It's down to 11. We welcome you back to Diddle Arena in Bowling Green, Kentucky. An 11-point lead right now, but it's dwindling for the Hilltoppers. Well, speaking of scores, how about scores from around Conference USA, as you call it, moving day? And Louisiana Tech in a last-second shot seen here on ASN. They beat Marshall 97-94. How exciting was that game?
Wow, that game is so pivotal. If you look at Old Dominion winning, and I'm not saying this just because I used to coach there, there's 5 teams that have a chance at those 4 double byes, and Marshall holds the tiebreaker over Old Dominion, having beating them head-to-head on a buzzer beater just like that. Similar score, buzzer beater by James Kelly. And so Marshall holds the tiebreaker, so Louisiana Tech, I mean, we're going to come down to Saturday.
Yeah.
It might be moving day, but we're not going to know till the end of Saturday who the top 4 are.
So Old Dominion wins, Charlotte wins. How good a job has Coach Mark Davis done there with Charlotte. And then Middle Tennessee, they're also a victor over Florida Atlantic. Looks like Florida Atlantic and UTSA are going to be in that play-in game on Tuesday night. And that first round, second round, third rounds of the Conference USA tournament right here on the American Sports Network. So we look at the standings in Conference USA, and UAB again, they've wrapped it up. They're the #1 seed and the host school. Game tournament will be played in Birmingham. And look at the tie between Middle and Louisiana Tech for second. By the way, Middle Tennessee will be at FIU on Saturday. Marshall now in a tie with Old Dominion for 4th place, as you mentioned.
Well, you've got Marshall and Old Dominion, a win-lose situation where somebody could get 4th, but then Louisiana Tech, a win-lose, there could be a tie there also. Yeah. So those
Stay
3
tuned.
teams, yeah.
There'll be more moving on Saturday.
As Paul Harvey would say, now you don't know the rest of the story. That's why it's moving day. It's not finished yet.
Foul there on Alex Rostov.
You know, you look at the stat sheet, they're down 10 on the glass. They're shooting 50% in the second half, Southern Miss is.
Yeah.
And Western Kentucky's just come up absolutely dry in the second half. So talk about a land of opportunity for Southern Miss.
0 for 4 for Western Kentucky in the second half. Little fadeaway that doesn't go. Oh, good ball fake. And he got Lawson off his feet.
He faked his shoulders, his hands, the ball, his eyebrows, his hair, everything.
So Tim Rowe will go to the line. Interesting, you have Tim Rowe and you have Kari Price. So it could be T. Rowe Price, right? All on the same team.
You used to work for an advertising agency? You used to sell signage? Or did you sell like deluxe checks or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, back in the heyday.
Back in the heyday. Back in your formative years. Think of the jobs we had when we were kids.
Oh, my
I mean,
goodness.
I worked for
You had a paper route, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody had a paper route.
We never admitted it.
No, I admitted it. I was proud of it. I had that until I was 42. No, I'm just kidding. Not that long.
Well, there's been some people waiting for the papers that long.
That was good. That was really good.
Oh.
I might have peaked as a paper boy in my career.
You peaked?
Yeah, I peaked. That was the peak
that's hard on you.
Tough act to follow that. Yeah, another missed shot. Now 0 for 5, the Hilltoppers. What's going on here?
They can't hit their butt with either hand. I mean, they've had some decent looks. Single digits on a bucket.
Rowe, that pass got through.
How? I don't know.
I don't either.
Clock.
Shot clock at 7. Price. Oh, nice move.
Well, as we said, the first half, they're really dependent upon him. I mean, he's like a quarterback at the line trying to say Omaha, 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 and figure something out at the last second, and he did it.
Doc Sadler, I think, got their attention. 7 straight points by Southern Miss. And how about this, Coach? Only 1 3-point shot in the second half for Southern Miss. There's a big three-pointer by Nigel Snipes to get them off the schneid in the second half.
Well, I think what Southern Miss does is it's like a sleep aid. They just put you to sleep, and pretty soon you're in a close game. But Snipe had an answer for that. He sniped out a three-pointer, big fashion. That was well off the line, too. It wasn't that open.
Trying to pass it inside, and a holding call on Rostov.
Well, it must be the right call because Rowe couldn't even go for the ball. I mean, he wasn't even able to go sideways, much less airborne. Somebody had a vice grip on him.
Well, you can see here what Rowe's trying to do is he gets Rostov on his hip, who's fronting him. He's trying to push him up the paint to get more space on the back end.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to clear space. Ooh.
And a good inbounds play that allows Jackson to get free.
That 4 on the baseline action you saw there, they worked on that a bunch today at shoot-around, and you saw the interior opportunities potentially, and there they got one.
This is where you need your leaders like Johnson to come along.
And look at all the post doubles. I mean, everybody, it's not NBA rules. There's a lot of guys in the paint ready to go get Johnson. Look at that.
Boy, he draws a crowd. Hunter. Tough little shot in the paint.
Not easy. The last two, you know, it's funny. They can't make a shot, and they got a whole bunch of good ones. They shoot 2 of the hardest shots of the day.
Yeah.
Like Buddy Hield, just they just think they're going to make it, and they did. Boy, he shoots some hard shots.
Is he going to be Player of the Year?
I don't know how he can't be. I mean, there's some other guys having good years, but he's been phenomenal.
And they say Valentine's got a good shot from Michigan State. Jackson with a three-pointer.
If Valentine had been healthy all year,
yeah,
I think that would be quite a discussion. The fact that he, you know, while he was out, that's when Hield took Oklahoma to #1 for a while, and then you got a target that's just, you know, as big as a garage door, that bullseye. Look at how quickly they doubled him, took the ball out of his hands.
Oh, good pass. Good find inside, and Jackson came over late.
He just threw a bullet in there for a little bullseye.
Remember when there were only 5 team fouls on Western in that first half? They already have 6 in the second half, so that puts Southern Miss in the bonus.
They could play upon that if they attacked more, but that's really not their style.
Snipes. Well, he's the one that got him going, and 2 threes for Snipes.
Can you believe it? No way. I mean, all the good shots they've had, and then all of a sudden they make 3 of the hardest shots. 2 3-pointers, about 24 feet out. The interior shot right into pressure. So, I mean, they earned this lead back.
Well, a little snipe hunting by Nigel as he hits yet another 3, and it's back to a comfortable lead for the Hilltoppers. Welcome back to Diddle Arena with Blaine Taylor. I'm Dave Armstrong. And Coach, if I can brag on you just a little bit, I want to show the folks at home some of your hard-earned work as a head coach in college basketball. Look at all the hardware that you've collected throughout your career. Well, did you know that? Did you know you had that many rings?
Well, that kind of adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Boy, it just, you reflect on all the good players and things, but you know, the thing that is interesting about it is as you come into tournament time right now is a team like Western Kentucky, you're just like, I don't want to play somebody that's playing that good, hasn't won a lot, because your fans don't know. I mean, you hope your players know what you're up against. And then in this day and age, many of those rings, you used to have 8 teams in the league, and you get, you know, had 7 of them, you're in first. Now you get ahead of 7, you're in 5th or 7th. So winning a 10, 12, 14 team league is even tougher now. So those championships are golden, and there's a lot that goes into it.
That's pretty special. 10 rings that I counted there. By the way, inside they go to Tim Rowe. So some points in the paint. You can tell that Doc Sadler said, all right, guys, we're not just going to live outside in the 3. I don't mind the 3. We can't just live out there. And then Justin Johnson knifes his way into the paint.
You know, I don't wear a lot of those rings, but these kids love it. And I'll tell you what, you want to motivate guys before tournament time, have them put on a ring sizer.
Oh, yeah.
Show them some pictures.
Well, you have them sized for your thumb, then you have one for the thumb, one for each thumb.
Actually, some of them are so big you can't. But the kids like them so big,
right.
I can't even wear them out in public. But yeah, they would fit on my thumb.
Yeah. So we got another timeout. 10:19 remaining, and the Hilltoppers continue to keep Doc Sadler's Golden Eagles at arm's length. 13-point lead now. There for a while, the Hilltoppers were letting it slip away, but then Snipes came in, hit a couple of big threes. Justin Johnson did, and that makes Coach Harper just a little bit more comfortable sitting over there on the sideline.
Yeah, he can put that Maalox back away for a moment, but, you know, give credit where credit's due. Southern Miss comes out and shoots 58% from the floor to get back at it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, Western Kentucky, they're just in a drought. And now they've bounced back up and made their last 5 shots.
Yeah, well, that free throw was not one of them.
That was a UFO.
And he missed them both. Cosby grabs that rebound.
Well, it worked so hard to earn those throws and empty. You can hear the shoes squeaking. They're trying.
Rostov doubled. Swing the ball to the other side. It's stuck there, though. Shot clock at 1. Nope. Shot clock violation.
Well, they're moving the ball, but nobody has the inclination to shoot or drive, and they got the ball to the post touch. But these post doubles are causing them concern, and when you do it too late in the clock, you can't counter.
How do you counter that? I mean, when they double a post like that, what do? You got to have a guy drive in the lane, don't you?
Well, you try to dive because you know they've only got 3 guys to guard 4. But somebody dives, and then I would put a guy on what I call the garden spot on the backside elbow. So you want to try to get to where the defense isn't. You know, kind of in really non-commonsensical. Let's go where they ain't.
Right. And the shot clock at 1. Rowe, he didn't get it off in time. That's 2 possessions in a row that are empty.
I had a team that led the nation in rebounding in 2011. And one of the things we would do out of that is, guys, just get it up on the glass. There's no block out angles. Even if you're in the double team, just get it up on the glass and we'll go get it. So let's get the ball up before they can block us off. And if we don't put it in, we're going to put it back in.
Sometimes that's really good offense. Just get it up on the glass and we'll go get it.
As long as everybody's anticipating it and you got the right personnel.
A wide open look for Cosby.
Now they've got a little more swagger right now. They're at home, their last weekend. Got senior day coming on Saturday. It's senior weekend all the way around. And they've got 3 fifth-year seniors.
Cosby having a good night. 5 for 9 from 3-point range, and Rowe misses a bunny.
Well, he's got the bunny. He missed the 2 free throws, so he's had a potential 6 points. He's got 1 point to show for it.
Well, just a freshman. Rowe, he's going to learn. One big giant step in there around Rowe.
3 small steps for me, 1 giant step for Rowe.
Oh, you're quoting my Uncle Neil. 7 straight points now by the Hilltoppers.
Oh, you got to outdo me just because my relative started the school.
That's
here.
right. Yeah, my guy was the first one on the moon. No, he's not related. I wish he were.
Well, maybe you'll get some royalties, or maybe somebody, maybe he owes some Super Bowl bets. People will find you. You know, Crosby is an interesting cat. I mean, he had 8 3-pointers in one game, 5 in a couple, 6 in another. I mean, when they get heated up, they're really potent offensively.
Shot clock at 4. Cosby.
He must have heard me. Wasn't no 3, though.
Yeah. Quite a run by Western right now, and Ramey can't find the range. How about this? Southern Miss shooting 53% in the second half, and they're falling further behind.
I can't remember the last miss by Western Kentucky.
It's been a while.
They started out and missed their first 5 and made their last 8 in a row.
Yeah. They get 9 in a row.
If they make 10 in a row, our producer will buy them all a new pair of cowboy boots, I bet, huh? the new boots he was wearing today.
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes, those things glowed. They were white. Looked like he was going to the prom.
Get him a glass of milk. He's like Pat Boone.
I don't know what skirt he was going to wear with them, but boy, they were nice.
We won't mention names, but his initials are Sean Moore.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a case, too, where if Rostov had better position, that was an easy pass inside. But why do that when you got Cosby hitting three-pointers?
Oh, that's 10. That's 10 in a row. Free boots from Sean Moore. See you guys in Nashville.
7 3-pointers for Cosby.
See you at the boot barn in Nashville.
He had 8 trays against Eastern Kentucky. Going for the knockout punch here. Another one? Oh. You're surprised now when they missed. They couldn't hit a shot in the first 3 minutes of the half. And now Edmond caps it off with a nice drive on the baseline.
Well, Ray can put the maillocks away. He can go put it in the fridge. Take it off the bench.
I would think so. And looking to be the first to 72 points. They're almost there. 66 now for Western Kentucky, thanks to the hot shooting of Aaron Cosby with 6 3-pointers tonight. Yeah, the threes are raining for the Hilltoppers, especially for Aaron Cosby, who has 6 threes tonight. He's 6 for 11, along with 4 rebounds, 22 points for Cosby.
Well, he has the Diddle record. He was 8 for 11 on December 1st, as you said, against Eastern Kentucky. But he's had 6 before. He's had 5 a couple of times. Against Eastern Kentucky, he was 8 for 11. Now, you've seen Western Kentucky just made their 10th three-pointer, a lot of it on his shoulders. And when he gets heated up, it seems like it just spreads, you know? It's like a virus that just goes through the team. We just all start making shots.
10 threes for the game, 6 for him. Snipes has hit a couple of big ones in this game. He was the one that really got him going in the second half.
Yeah, good point. They're kind of dead in the water. Yeah. He just jumped up and knocked a couple, and all of a sudden everybody says, oh, that ain't that hard. I can do that too.
And you get the sense, too, don't you, Coach, that the Golden Eagles are kind of out of gas.
Well, it's been a long season,
yeah.
You know, and I really have the utmost respect for they've hung in here, they've scratched, they've clawed. Day after day, I would look in the standings, I'd look at the scores and go, geez, they had a chance, and they're clawing out some wins, but it's just an uphill battle when they've got such a shadow that hangs over top of them with this NCAA situation.
Self-imposed sanctions. And you see Watts is fouled out of this game. One more game remaining this year for the Golden Eagles. That's at Marshall on Saturday. Cosby can't miss right now. That's 7.
Well, you try to keep a team from looking at the finish line, season over, but man, when you're sitting here, the other team's just draining threes. You had senior night last Saturday. You're not going to the tournament. Yeah, I mean, they're only human, and you know, as much as their shoes are scratching and they're trying, you've got Western Kentucky has a whole different vibe. They're at home. They're heading to the tournament. You know, they came off a pretty good weekend last weekend with a win at Middle Tennessee. In fact, Cosby had 5 threes in that game, and Aaron hit the go-ahead 3 in the last minute. So, you know, they've got a mojo right now that makes them, you know, dangerous going forward.
I agree with you. I think this team is a team that you look at and you go, boy, don't sleep on Western Kentucky. This win here tonight will make them 7-10 in conference play, and they just keep moving up. They've got a good chance to be the 8th or 9th seed, and they could make some noise next week in Birmingham.
Now, when I said 72 was the number that they had to get to, I think we're safe. I think the amazing Kreskin is alive and well.
You're going to go home tonight and go, I told those guys 72 was the magic number.
72, they had to get there. They got there.
It could have been 62.
Could have been 82 maybe. No, if you looked at the numbers, they're averaged 76, and you're looking at Southern Miss. They don't give up a lot of points, so there was something had to give. They were going to either score some points, and now they've made 11 three-pointers. You know, I mean, that's 33 points. All bets are off. You know, somebody that's been a silent hero, the assist-to-turnover ratio is 2-to-1, and McNeil has 5 assists, no turnovers.
Yeah. He's not going to score a lot for you, but if he can just be that distributor with very few turnovers, I mean, he could be have a huge role here in his freshman year. As
just a freshman, as you say, so sometimes freshmen come of age late in the year. They're not freshmen anymore. They've played, 25, 30 games, and so as they go forward, to have that trigger man, distributing the ball sure helps.
He needs just 4 more assists this year to be the all-time leader as a freshman for most assists in a season.
Gotta love that.
Welcome back to Diddle Arena in Bowling Green, Kentucky. When you look at Conference USA coming up next week, and we are looking forward to that. We look at if the season were to end today, and again, Saturday is going to be a big moving day, but if it were to end right now, Florida Atlantic and UTSA in that play-in game, and again, that's on ASN, and then you have Rice and FIU, Old Dominion, and the winner of the Florida Atlantic UTSA game. UTEP against Western Kentucky, Charlotte against North Texas, the top 4 seeds, and that's going to stay, I think, the same. It'll be UAB, Marshall, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee. Those teams, though, could juggle a little bit. Not UAB, but the other 3 could juggle around.
They could juggle. Old Dominion still got a chance there, so 3 of those 4. Now, I look at it, and I look at where the semifinal matchups would be and go, wow, what games that would be. Somebody in round 2 is going to get beat. 1 or 2 of those top seeds will get beat. So there's going to be a lot of excitement there. In these tournaments, my favorite day is the semifinals. Championship's a championship, but man, those are usually 2 great games.
You start using clock a little bit now if you're Western.
Yeah, you know, your last home weekend, you might let them go a little bit. You're going to be respectful of the opponent. So you'll just play smart. You might take something early, but in a normal situation, you probably pass it a few times. You can manipulate that by what you call.
Well, Campbell comes in with his third three of the game.
He's just jumped up and buried him a few times.
That's 8 threes now for the Golden Eagles.
Well, at halftime, they each had 6. Had we not had that bad sequence, I think Southern Miss would have got to the locker room just down, 3, 4, 5 points.
As it was, they were down 15, and Western let them get back inside at 10 in the second half, and then the Hilltoppers just put it away.
To your point, they ran a lot of time there, ended up with a turnover, so there was a lot of pace to that.
And a three-pointer rings home for Robert Thomas III.
Well, that's what they've done all year. They just don't go away completely. But you got to give Western Kentucky some credit. I thought they were right for the pick in there at the start of the second half, and boy, they came alive.
I think some of this, too, is about building momentum for next week. And they've got a big game against Louisiana Tech right here at Diddle Arena on Saturday.
That's a huge game. I mean, for both teams. I mean, I think that the little bit of momentum that Western Kentucky senior day tries to take to the tournament, but Louisiana Tech, coming off the big win today, if they could finish that off and take their own momentum in, that would be big.
And I don't think there's enough separation between the teams that are in first, second, third, fourth, and those teams that are in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in this league.
You talk to somebody in the league office, and there's 2 4-letter words. They don't like separation because they want parity, and they don't want parity because they want separation. Because the country wants to see separation because they want you to say, you got some really good teams at the top. But everybody wants parity because everybody can beat everybody. And you can't have it both ways, and yet you're always mad no matter which way it is.
No foul called here on Quentin Campbell.
Here's an example, the West Coast Conference. Everybody always used to say, well, Gonzaga's the only good team. So there's always a separation. So how good is the league? Now you got BYU, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga. There's a good chance that only the tournament champion will go to the NCAAs. They've got parity, no separation. It's not going to lead to more bids right now.
Now coming up Saturday on the American Sports Network, I'll be at Florida Atlantic as they take on UAB. And then Old Dominion against Rice. All that coming up here on ASN on Saturday.
I did the Rice game at Old Dominion where Rice came in and just shocked everybody and won. So that rematch will be interesting. Freshman of the year for sure, Marcus Evans. 5 consecutive Freshman of the Years, 9 total. He had a huge game there, and he's from that area, from Chesapeake, right there near Old Dominion.
Yeah, that's lock. I think Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, still kind of up for grabs. And it's tough to really lock down on any one person or one coach.
Well, the coaches, that's always a kind of a fickle award. A lot of petty things go into that, so I don't know if I'll touch on that. But sometimes, you have somebody that wins the league like you were talking about, Jared Haas. I mean, they don't really have a whole bunch of guys Player of the Week, but they're winning the league going away, so who knows? But Player of the Year, you got 4 different kids that have been Player of the Week 3 times. How the people see UAB winning it, how people see those 4 kids, will be interesting. I think that they vote tomorrow, we were told. So Saturday's game is not included in the ballot. So right now, hold those pari-mutuel wagers because it's in.
Well, I think Jared Haas will be strongly considered for winning the conference and winning it outright. I think D'Antoni's got a good shot because Marshall came from nowhere. And they really made a lot of noise this year. I think what Louisiana Tech has done of late, is going to put them on the map.
Well, Eric is a first-year coach. Eric Conco, he's earned the respect. He's earned his chair at the coaches' table in the league meetings. So it'll be interesting. You've got a lot of different guys that could be voted for it. It'll probably be a close vote.
And I think the same could be said for Player of the Year. It's going to be very interesting. Because you're right, no one from UAB has really stood out and said, well, there's the one guy from you. They've had 3 or 4 guys that have been really good for them that allowed the Blazers to win the league outright.
I'll bet you they'll split votes, and so they won't have a winner. And I bet you that Jared would have a hard time telling you there's one guy to vote for.
Well, right now, Coach Harper is able to clear his bench. Waters checks out.
Well, they took care of business.
Kiefer Dalton is in. Dylan Sanford is in.
He's just going to burn the clock. I was correct on the 72, but not by much.
And Coach Sadler told his guys to back off.
This is about their season averages. Believe it or not, Southern Miss averages 62 points a game. Western Kentucky averages 75 and some change.
I think we're going to have a half second, right, once they dribble out this possession. Yep, about 0.6.
I had this happen one time, and about that much differential, and the guy just threw it up in the air, and it swished. And the other coach looked at me like, "You dirty." I go, "Man,
and that's the way this game comes to a close. Good win for Western Kentucky.
Sure is. I mean, Doc Sadler's, they're coming to the end of the trail, but Western Kentucky, they're starting to move down the trail in pretty good fashion.
Well, no question about it. Really good win for the Hilltoppers here. And they're able to get to 15-15 overall and 7-10 in conference play. So you look at Western Kentucky, and again, a team that has had so many close losses this year. If they can put together a little string, they could make some noise next week in Birmingham.
What jumps out at me is 10 different guys scored. Cosby has a big night, and they did it without Justin Johnson going crazy. So they got some pieces healthy right now.
So that's the end of the show here in Western Kentucky. And from Diddle Arena, we say so long. The Hilltoppers win this one by the final score of 75-60. For Blaine Taylor and our entire crew, I'm Dave Armstrong. Thanks for watching tonight on the American Sports Network. And we bid you a good night from Bowling Green. Monica and Jorge in the ASN studio after the break. Whatever you want to do.